On May 27, 1942, the film begins with a scene featuring Reinhard Heydrich, a notable political figure in the Nazi Party, spending time with his children. He returns home, puts on his uniform, and then joins his companion in a car. They navigate through busy streets, filled with people and passing trains. An unforeseen event occurs when a man suddenly appears in the middle of the road, wielding an automatic rifle and aiming to assassinate Heydrich. The story flashes back to 1929 at the German Kiel Naval Base, where Reinhard, now an officer in the German Naval Command, is seen in a fencing match, easily outclassing his opponent. Later that day, Reinhard dates a girl named Christina, and their evening ends with an intimate moment at his loft. The following night, he attends a ball at the rowing club, where he dances with Lena von Tin, whom he later invites to a movie. On the train ride, Lena reveals that she is a member of the Nazi Party and works as the head of the Reich Security Main Office. Despite this, Reinhard continues to see Lena and her family, and their relationship grows. Eventually, Reinhard is summoned by Commander Schuster to identify a young woman who claims to have had a romantic relationship with him 18 months earlier and now wishes to marry him. Reinhard vehemently denies the claim, asserting that the woman is attempting to tarnish his reputation as an officer. He is required to attend court to defend himself, where he is surprised to learn that the woman's father knows Admiral Reuter in Berlin. During the court-martial, he addresses the affair and presents evidence, admitting to the relationship but stating that the woman is motivated by jealousy and aims to ruin his future marriage. Unfortunately, the court rules against him, deeming his behavior inappropriate for a Navy officer. The trial's verdict drives him into a rage, leading him to destroy his apartment. Lena arrives, confronts him about the affair, and expresses her desire to keep the matter secret so they can marry. Reinhard then visits a chicken farm and meets with Heinrich Himmler, who, aware of his recent Navy discharge, offers him a position to head SS counterintelligence, tasked with exposing infiltration tactics by political adversaries. Pleased with the offer, Reinhard accepts, having previously demonstrated his ability to outwit an enemy. He becomes an SS member and works with Heinrich Müller against the Communist Party. A raid on a communist stronghold results in harsh punishments for those apprehended. At a dinner hosted by Himmler, Ernst Röhm suggests Reinhard join the SA division. He returns home for a private evening with his wife and later participates in a rally supporting the Nazi Party's rise, pledging allegiance to Hitler. To further demonstrate his commitment to the SS, Reinhard is assigned a mission to remove Ernst Röhm and his SA allies suspected of plotting against Hitler. After several months, his family grows, and they celebrate with a grand event. Himmler praises Reinhard to his wife, mentioning that Hitler refers to him as the man with the iron heart. By September 1939, amid the German occupation of Poland during World War II, Reinhard's role in the Nazi Party evolves as he is appointed chief of the Reich Security Main Office, responsible for commanding the Einsatzgruppen and mobile death squads to eliminate the Polish population by any means necessary, resulting in a mass genocide. Reinhard personally oversees and films the chaos for his review. At a Nazi officer's party at a brothel, he is seen secretly observing through a one-way mirror where an escort is preparing to engage with a high-ranking official. The next day, the man he observed turns out to be General Edward Wagner from Vermont, who frequently visits him. The general reveals he knows of Reinhard's inclination towards young prostitutes and blackmails him for information about regime enemies. Meanwhile, the execution of Jews continues, and Reinhard, now a general, helps a soldier with his gun by lending him his own sidearm. Despite his busy schedule, he teaches his eldest son Klaus to play the piano. When his wife approaches, he tells her they will soon move to Prague due to his work. After 2 years, he becomes the acting Reich protector of the Protectorate of Bohemia and Moravia. In Prague, he publicly announces his plan to cleanse the city of Jews, with intentions to extend this to Berlin and Vienna. He orders all Jewish individuals to report to police stations wearing their Jewish symbol and promises to increase the number of Czech workers in armament factories while dismantling Czech resistance groups. Lena, adapting to their new circumstances, voices her feelings of neglect in their marriage, which upsets him as he recalls her role in his rise to power. After their argument, she spends time with Klaus at the piano. Later, he discusses with Nazi officials the Jewish population census, aiming to drastically reduce their numbers and suggesting they be segregated into concentration camps. 6 months before the assassination attempt on Reinhard, Czech soldier Jan Kubiš undergoes training alongside Private Sef Gap. Both are members of the Free Czechoslovak Resistance Organization and function as paratroopers. During their mission to infiltrate German territory, they land in a snowy region, leaving their parachutes behind, which get caught in a tree and are discovered by Nazi soldiers. Following a vigorous fencing session, General Reinhard informs Mola about the two paratroopers and requests an update on tracking down another Czech resistance group, known as the Three Kings. After a grueling trek through Prague's mountainous regions, the two soldiers reach a friendly outpost to warm up. An informant then provides them with work certificates to use as identification in the occupied city. At the train station, Joseph meets with Marie Mork and guides him away from the inspection point. An SS officer challenges Jan for his identification, but he narrowly escapes by boarding a tram. He reunites with two others and a woman, Isep, who offers him shelter. Jan is taken in by Jan Zen, who promises him refuge with a local family and a future meeting with the Three Kings. That night, Jan visits a parlor after hours for a shampoo, where Anna Novak, a contact mentioned by Zelina, agrees to help him. She hides him in her home, posing as a couple to avoid suspicion. Before they sleep, they share a kiss. The next day, members of the Three Kings are cornered by a squad of Nazis at a dilapidated location. The Nazis capture one of the men, Isep Mazen, and begin torturing him. General Reinhard Heydrich arrives to interrogate Mazen about the whereabouts of Václav Morovich and the two paratroopers. Refusing to reveal any information, Mazen is shot multiple times by Heydrich, who then orders his men to find Morovich. Meanwhile, the two paratroopers, who have managed to evade capture, happily reunite at a barnyard and meet up with Morovich. Morovich reveals that the rest of the Three Kings have been killed and that the SS is now aware of their covert mission, codenamed Operation Anthropoid. As a precaution, Morovich provides them with what appears to be a suicide pill to carry in case of capture. Despite the dire situation, Morovich agrees to help the paratroopers plan their escape. In a bar, they engage a steward familiar with Reinhard's estate to gather intelligence on his security and movements. He agrees to relay his observations and arranges for Isef to rendezvous with a contact daily at 5 p.m. At a street tram stop, Joseph tracks Reinhard's convoy, noting timings and reporting back. They identify a prime spot outside town for the planned assassination and arrange lookouts and strategic positions. As time progresses, Reinhard discovers Morovich's hideout, leading to a confrontation with soldiers. Morovich takes his own life on a balcony. The general announces the demise of the Three Kings and the end of the resistance. Witnessing this, Joseph returns home filled with doubt about their cause. That night, Agila Pa receives a Morse-coded message from London, confirming Morovich's death and urging Czech support for the assassination. Despite the risks, the resistance meets with the paratroopers, who are determined to proceed with the plan, enlisting Sef for execution while others provide support. In preparation for the attack, Jan modifies an anti-tank grenade at home, while Joseph assembles a rifle and ammunition. Meanwhile, Vaga keeps a small pistol with him. On the day of the attack, the men take their positions at strategic vantage points, anxiously awaiting Heydrich's arrival. At 10:15 a.m., Valak spots the car approaching and signals Isef with a mirror. Isef hurriedly moves into the road, points his gun at Heydrich, but it jams. Panicked, Isef retreats as Heydrich opens fire. Jan seizes the chance to throw the modified anti-tank grenade, which successfully explodes, hitting Heydrich's car. The wounded Heydrich tries to pursue the men but ultimately succumbs to his injuries and collapses. After the initial attack, a German squad arrives to take control. Isef exchanges gunfire with SS officer Klein, who was driving Heydrich's car, and shoots him 3 times. Joseph makes his way back to their safe house, while Jan escapes by bicycle to Anna's home, arriving with a bleeding forehead. Later, the severely injured Heydrich is brought to the infirmary, with his wife anxiously checking his condition. A massive manhunt by Nazi troops ensues, searching every house for the bombers. Although soldiers search Anna's home, they do not find Jan, who has hidden himself by the windowsill. Jan leaves Anna's place and hides in the basement of the Cyril and Methodius Cathedral, where the remaining resistance members, including Sef, are waiting. Zelina constructs wooden coffins for the men to be secretly shipped out, disguised as supplies. At the hospital, General Reinhard Heydrich, in critical condition and barely able to speak, is visited by Himmler, who hands him a dossier titled The Final Solution to the Jewish Question. Accepting his fate, the dying Heydrich recites a line from his father's opera before passing away. In the days that follow, a grand funeral is held in honor of his legacy and his unwavering commitment to the Nazi Party. Meanwhile, Heydrich's genocide plan is enacted, resulting in the execution of hundreds of civilians from the town of Lies as the Nazis interrogate them for the resistance members' whereabouts. Eventually, all involved in the resistance operation are apprehended by the Nazis, with some choosing to take their own lives rather than face capture. The assassination attempt on Heydrich fails, and the repercussions are severe, with the Nazis intensifying their crackdown on both resistance fighters and the civilian population. Simultaneously, the cathedral harboring the remaining resistance fighters is targeted in a nighttime raid. A fierce gun battle ensues for 6 hours, with both sides exchanging fire to flush out Jan and Sef from the basement. The Nazis resort to flooding it with water from a large hose. Cornered and with no escape, Jan and Sef decide to fatally shoot each other. It is noted in history that Reinhard's assassination marks him as the highest-ranking Nazi official killed by resistance efforts during World War II. The film concludes with this historical note: